And the third myth a lot of people say is registering a company in Vietnam takes ages. So how long does it take to register a foreign-owned company in Vietnam? Maybe Simon, could you tell us like about the time frames for IRC, ERC, and also maybe the sub licenses as well?
As per our experience, it will take us only 3 weeks to help a client get set up a company. I mean, obtain an IRC and ESC.
Mm-hmm.
For sub license, you know, it depends on what is the sub license we can get. But in practice, you know, if the clients can meet all the requirements stated by law, you know, we can help clients get the sub license within the time frame stated by law. Yeah.
And maybe just to jump in, so some sub licenses could be, for example, food safety hygiene, or maybe a retail license. So there's a few different sub licenses. Not all companies need, but some companies need some sub licenses depending.
In some cases, we can shorten, you know, the timeline, you know, to 2 weeks, but with additional fees.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's good. And maybe Moraine, you can talk about like what you would need to prepare in order to make the time shorter, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. I also like to say something about what Simon said. I think it shows, and Barney, I'm sure you recognize it as well, that it really depends on the city or on the province where you're registering. Because we know, for example, from experience in Da Nang, that it takes maybe double the time, sometimes triple the time.
Yeah. And also in Hanoi as well. We've had clients all over Vietnam, and I think it's not only the province, but also the project and what they want to achieve, investment capital, that I think there really is so many variables to the time.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe another practical point or a recommendation that I would like to make is that I think it's always a good idea to start preparing well ahead of time, especially if you're registering a foreign-owned company and when you will need to submit some documents from overseas. So let's just take an example. Let's say you want to establish a manufacturing company in Vietnam that is 100% owned by your existing company in the United States. Then the Department of Planning and Investment in the province or in the city where you want to register in Vietnam, they are likely going to ask you some documents from the United States. For example, financial statements or the certificate of incorporation of the United States company. And in most cases, those documents that are coming from overseas, they need to be notarized in your home country. And then they need to be legalized by the Vietnamese diplomatic mission in your home country. And sometimes they also need to be stamped by the Department of Foreign Affairs in your home country. So all these steps, they take quite some time. So my recommendation would be to check in advance, ahead of time, which documents you need from overseas, and then just start preparing them as soon as you can, if you don't want to delay the registration procedure in Vietnam. And the second point that I want to make about the time that it takes to register a company is that it really varies from city to city and from province to province. So the authority who is in charge of approving your project, that's the Department of Planning and Investment. And each province and each city has one. So the big cities, Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, and Da Nang, they have one of their own. If you're registering a company in a smaller city, then the DPI, the Department of Planning and Investment, is usually in the capital of the province. So for example, the DPI in Quang Nam province, that's the province where Hoi An is in Tam Kỳ. And each Department of Planning and Investment, each local authority, they have slightly different ways of working, slightly different speeds of working. So as Simon already said, in Ho Chi Minh City, registering a company could take 3 weeks, but in Da Nang or in Hoi An, it's probably double of that time, maybe 6 or 7 weeks. So it also really depends on where in Vietnam you're registering your company.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think in summary, this myth is maybe half debunked. I think generally depends really. And if you look at other countries, some neighboring countries like Thailand, it can be around a week. Singapore can even be less than a week. It can be really fast. Hong Kong, 2 to 8 weeks. So I think if you prepare well, and if you're in a city that allows startups, or it's more open to startups, I should say, then yeah, it could take maybe 3 to 7 weeks in total.